Here in Finland, March is a month of balance, 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of night. In Helsinki, the weather is mild and the streets are thawing from winter's grip. But far to the north, in Lapland, snow still blankets the ground, and the Arctic chill is still very present. Tonight, we'll be heading way up north, taking one of Finland's most remarkable train journeys, from the capital all the way to Kolari, far above the Arctic Circle. Our ride is a true classic, a blue 1970s-era CEmt sleeper car, still faithfully working the rails after nearly 50 years. Welcome to Finland's northernmost sleeper train. Here's a view of our journey from above. Today's trip is in the far northern European country of Finland, bordered by Russia to the east and Sweden to the west. We will be traveling almost the entire length of the country on a journey lasting 14.5 hours. The train originates in the capital city, Helsinki, at the Baltic Sea coast in the far south of the country. Leaving Helsinki, we'll head straight north, skirting the western side of the country as we pass through Tampere, Oulu, and Kemi, before reaching Kolari in the Arctic Lapland. The tracks continue a short distance further north, but this is the northernmost passenger train station in Finland. During the colder months, many passengers will transfer to buses or pick up rental cars to continue to ski resorts in the area, such as Levi. During the peak season, the train is quite busy, running daily to bring visitors up for winter sports, sled rides, aurora viewing, and other activities. Our trip today starts at the iconic Helsinki Central Station, an architectural masterpiece. Opened in its current form in 1919, the station is one of the most recognizable icons of the city. Rail service is highly centralized in Helsinki. Almost all commuter, regional, and intercity services depart from here. Commuter services are largely provided by modern equipment, such as Stadler flirts, but a few rush hour services are still provided by old SM2 electric multiple units. These are fascinating cars, and we're working on a separate video that dives exclusively into the few remaining SM2s in Finland. We're here in the evening, with the train scheduled to depart at 8:29 p.m. The station is clean and orderly, with the evening rush hour beginning to wind down. Helsinki Central Station has many food options, including the iconic Olivia restaurant, and offers all of the usual services, such as bag storage. Our train today, ⁴ᴷ⁶⁷, is on time, so we'll head out to track 8 to watch it pull into the station. Finland's railways are home to some fascinating and varied rolling stock. One thing that makes them unique is their broad gauge track, inherited from the country's history as part of the Russian rail network. This wider gauge allows for more spacious train interiors, but it also means that Finland's rail network is largely separate from the rest of Europe. However, this is starting to change, and you'll want to stick around because we'll dive into this in detail later in the video. Here on the left is an EDO-type control carriage, used on locomotive halt services. To its right is a Class SM3 Pendolino, a tilting electric train built for high-speed service. Pulling in next to us on track 9 is another locomotive halt train, powered by an SR1 electric locomotive. The SR1 is based on the Swiss Lok 2000 design, adapted for Finland's broad gauge tracks and harsh Nordic climates. Besides Switzerland, where it is called the RE460 and RE465, you can also see this model in Norway, where it is called the Class EL18. Until 2020, these locomotives also provided service on the cross-border KTT train, which ran between Hong Kong and mainland China. Our sleeper train pulls into the station about 20 minutes before departure. At the very back, you can see the 3 modern EDM double-decker sleeper cars, the backbone of Finland's overnight services. Ahead of them is a single EDG seating coach. Next up is a single-deck RX restaurant coach, where passengers can grab a meal or a late-night coffee before settling in. But here is the most interesting part of the train: 4 CEmt sleeper carriages, built in the 1970s and 1980s. These are the only cars still wearing the classic Finnish Railways blue paint scheme, which is why they're often simply called blue carriages. They're also the last remaining passenger cars in Finland still fitted with manually operated side doors, a reminder of an earlier era in railway travel. Most of the CEmt fleet has already been retired, with these remaining examples only brought out during the busiest travel seasons, making them a rare and nostalgic sight. Here is a full, comprehensive look inside one of these classic sleeper carriages, an opportunity that's becoming increasingly rare. Let's start in the hallway, lined with classic wood grain paneling that instantly transports you back to the 1970s. Each compartment in a blue carriage can accommodate up to 3 people, but you can also book a private room for 1 or 2 passengers if you prefer. The cars were built with unusually high ceilings, just tall enough to fit a 3rd top bunk without feeling cramped. The doors to each compartment are equipped with sturdy locks, and 2 keys of the punched card variety are provided for each of them. Inside, one of the standout features is this iconic orange corner table, which cleverly doubles as a sink. Above it, the mirror hides a storage compartment stocked with complimentary bottled water. The rooms themselves are surprisingly spacious, with comfortable beds and plenty of storage space for suitcases and bags. Even if you're sleeping on the top bunk, you'll find that there's a reasonable amount of headroom. And here's a quirky touch: a bottle opener bolted right into the wall of each compartment. A small detail, but one that feels very Finnish. One thing that you won't find in your room is a toilet. Instead, restrooms are located at the ends of each carriage. These are classic, old-fashioned direct dump toilets that empty straight onto the tracks, so passengers are asked not to use them while the train is sitting in the station. Here in the hallway, fold-down seats fit neatly into the wall, giving groups of passengers a place to sit and chat without crowding into a sleeper compartment. We've still got about 15 minutes before departure, so let's take a look at the power up front. Tonight, our train is hauled by a pair of SR3 electric locomotives. These were built by Siemens and are based on their Vectron design. The SR3s are slowly taking over from the older SR1 locomotives, which were built by the Soviet Union. We'll see one of those later in the video. These 2 will haul us up as far as Oulu, where we'll see them get swapped out for diesel locomotives for the final stretch up to Kolari. Back in our sleeper compartment, the train eases out of the station exactly on time, marking the start of our overnight journey above the Arctic Circle. Our first stop comes just a few minutes later at Pasila, a major station in the northern part of Helsinki. Right after that, we arrive at the Pasila car carrier station, where passengers traveling with their vehicles can load them onto the train for the long journey north. One of the biggest advantages of Finnish sleeper trains is the ability to bring your own vehicle along for the journey. This is especially important in northern Finland, where towns are much more sparsely populated, and public transportation options are limited. If you're traveling with a vehicle, you can drop it off here at the Pasila car carrier station. These specialized car carrier wagons will then be coupled to the rear of the sleeper train, allowing you to travel comfortably overnight with your vehicle in tow. Now that the car carriers are securely attached, our train continues north into the night. As the day winds down, it's time to head over to the restaurant car for dinner. The restaurant car was quite busy, so we kept filming to a minimum inside, Instead, here are some walkthrough shots from other parts of the trip. The benefits of broad gauge track are readily apparent here. The car is wide, which provides ample seating for many people in the restaurant car at the same time. As with most of Finland, the staff in the restaurant car are very nice, and they speak English fluently. A popular menu item here is the ⁴ᴷ⁶⁷, which translates to giant meat pie with sausage. It's delicious and surprisingly filling, despite being on the small dish section of the menu. The meatballs with mashed potatoes are also highly recommended. Rest assured, there is no chance that you'll go hungry on this train. Next, let's take a quick look at the newer double-decker sleeper cars. The amount of capacity that these cars have is absolutely astounding. With 2 levels and a wide loading gauge, they can really cram people in. VR has additional double-decker sleeper cars on order from Skoda, which will finally replace the blue CEMTs. Notice the common practice of leaving keys in the door locks. This is a very safe train, and there's really no issues with theft. The train was unfortunately fully booked during our trip, so we couldn't get inside any of the compartments, but here are some views from VR's official website. These compartments are designed for 2 people, with upper deck rooms featuring ensuite showers, a nice feature for overnight rail travel, fairly similar to the Amtrak bedrooms on services in the United States. For passengers traveling in other rooms, there are communal showers available at the ends of each car. The coach car has been heavily modified to include bike storage on the lower level. Another very Finnish touch is a dedicated storage section for skis and poles, essential for winter travelers heading north. As we settle in for the night, the train makes a stop at Riihimäki. Parked on a siding next to the station is a classic SR1 locomotive, a true icon of Finnish railways. Imported from the Soviet Union, the SR1s were built by the Novocherkassk Electric Locomotive Company between 1973 and 1985. These locomotives were Finland's first mainline electric engines, introduced to modernize the network. Known for their distinctive boxy shape and robust performance, the SR1s have been a backbone of Finnish rail operations for decades, including hauling overnight sleeper trains. However, they are now slowly being phased out as the SR3s take over. While we had hoped to see an SR1 hauling our train, this was the only time on the entire trip that we were lucky enough to spot one. And now, with it fully dark outside, let's head to sleep as the train hurtles north towards the Arctic Circle. Now, some of you may be wondering, what do people dream about on these comfortable sleeper trains? Some may dream about snowy landscapes, others may dream about arriving on time. But for us, right now, we're dreaming about more of our viewers hitting that subscribe button. Seriously, over 85% of you watching right now are not subscribed, and that's a lot of unfulfilled dreams. So please, help make ours come true. Click subscribe, and we'll keep the journey rolling together. After a very comfortable night's sleep, we wake up just as the sun begins to peek over the horizon. We're approaching Oulu, much further north now, and the landscape outside is covered in a thick blanket of snow. Dawn breaks in earnest as the train pulls into this major stop. The train is scheduled to spend about 45 minutes here, while the electric locomotives are swapped out for diesel power to continue the journey further north into non-electrified territory. Passengers take advantage of the stop to stretch their legs and get some fresh air on the platform. This also gives us our first close-up look at the car carriers, which are jam-packed with vehicles heading up into the remote north. Meanwhile, up front, workers begin uncoupling the SR3 electric locomotives, which soon pull away from the rest of the train. With the locomotives disconnected, we get a good look at the open end of the CEmt sleeper cars. Their noticeably high ceilings are immediately apparent. Another interesting feature of these classic cars is their axle-mounted generators, which seem to supply at least some of the electrical load on board. In fact, the interior lights remained on even after the locomotives were disconnected, likely due to a battery backup system. If anyone has more detailed info on how the electrical systems work on these cars, please let us know in the comments. Shortly after, two DR16 diesel-electric locomotives pull in to couple up at the front. Together with them is a Type DE generator car, which provides electrical power to the passenger cars, since the DR16s don't appear to supply head-end power themselves. This DE generator car dates from 1984, and is similar in design to the CEmt sleeper cars. The SR3s pass by on the adjacent track, and will presumably be used as motive power for a corresponding southbound sleeper train. With the diesel locomotives hitched up, it's time to head back to the sleeper car and prepare for departure. With everyone on board, we depart Oulu, and continue further towards the Arctic Circle. With each hour, the weather gets colder, and the snow cover gets thicker. A few hours later, we pull into Tornio Station. Tornio is notable for being right on the border with Sweden, which has a neighboring sister town, Haparanda. This is the location of the cross-border Torne River Railway Bridge, which is equipped with dual-gauge track to accommodate both Finnish broad-gauge and Swedish standard-gauge rolling stock. Recently, both countries performed major upgrades to the infrastructure here to accommodate increased cross-border traffic. The overhead electrification system was extended up to Tornio and across the border to Haparanda, which required heavy modification of the bridge. Here is a view of the Haparanda station on the Swedish side of the border. Norrtåg trains already provide service from here to Boden and Luleå in Sweden. Sweden has invested heavily in this line, including the construction of a brand new right-of-way that allows for high-speed operation. On the other side of Haparanda station are broad-gauge tracks, where Finnish trains would stop. Unfortunately, there is not yet any cross-border passenger service to and from Finland. Passengers looking to connect from the Tornio station to the Swedish services at Haparanda are currently forced to use buses or taxis to make the short trip across the border. Despite the completion of the infrastructure improvement projects here, the Finnish government has still not been able to agree to dedicate funding to start cross-border passenger services. Current estimates are that services may start in early 2026. Hopefully the Finnish government will do the right thing and expedite this as much as possible. Back on the train, we depart Tornio. Just beyond the station, we see another track branch towards the south, heading towards the Swedish border. A short time after, we see another track merge in, coming from the same cross-border connection. The rest of the journey closely parallels the Torne River, which in this area is the border between Finland and Sweden. It's quite interesting to be able to see another country from the window of your railway carriage. We're now approaching the Arctic Circle, a major milestone for the journey. To give you some reference as to just how far north this is, we're further north than the entirety of Iceland, along with much of Nunavut, Yukon, and Alaska. We finally cross the Arctic Circle here, in Juoksenki. This raised berm right next to the tracks marks the exact location. From here, it's a little bit more than an hour until we'll reach the train's final destination in Kolari. A short time later, we reach the second to last station stop, Pello. By now, the landscape has become very remote, and the temperature has dropped well below freezing. We've been on the train for over 14 hours, but the accommodations are so comfortable that the time passes easily. In no time at all, we begin to approach the final stop, Kolari. After exiting the train, we get a good look at our trusty blue sleeper car underneath the Arctic sun. These cars, despite their age, are very comfortable, and they did an excellent job on the journey. Kolari station is fairly substantial. At the south end is a waiting room and a bus station, where many passengers boarded connecting bus services to ski resorts further north. At the north end of the station is a parking lot, where passengers can arrange to pick up rental cars to continue their journey. The nearby ski resorts of ⁴ and ⁴ are a major draw during the winter months. On our trip, we continued up to ⁴, which has excellent ski slopes, winter activities, and provides many opportunities to view the beautiful northern lights. The Helsinki to Kolari night train is more than just transportation. It's a comfortable, well-run service that carries you deep into the north. VR keeps their trains in top shape, and the experience of waking up at the Arctic Circle is something you never forget. Out here, the scenery is wide open, the towns are few and far between, and there's a quiet sense of being far from anywhere else. If you're a fan of vintage rolling stock, don't wait too long. These CEmt blue carriages don't have much time left. VR has already ordered brand new sleeper cars to replace them, and the equally iconic Soviet SR1 locomotives are also heading for retirement. The blue cars mainly run during Finland's peak winter season, so if you want to experience them, that's the time to book your trip. Booking your ticket is very simple. VR's website is clear, clean, and easy to navigate. Night train tickets are released in batches as timetables are finalized. As of the posting of this video, you can already book your sleeper journey all the way through late March 2026, about 7 months in advance. Kolari is a small remote station at the end of the line, and while it does have some services, it's essential to have a plan for what happens next. Whether you're catching a bus to your final destination or picking up a rental car, please be sure to make those arrangements far in advance, especially for peak season trips, when demand is high and last-minute options can be scarce. Something else that you data nerds will like is the fact that Finnish Railways has a lot of open data. The Julia Data website provides detailed information on the status of each train, its en route on-time performance, and even the train composition. Ahead of your trip, you can even look up what type of locomotives and cars will be on your train. Truly fascinating and also helpful information to have. We'll include a link to the website down in the description. We've greatly enjoyed bringing you along on this trip, and we hope this video inspires some of you to take a similar journey of your own. If you do, please let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear your stories, and it always makes us incredibly happy to hear that we've inspired others to take similar trips. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.